So hey everyone, hope everyone is hanging in there. Just probably a light day today again, because things have been kind of busy with other projects. Mostly just because I'm trying to organize the house a little bit. I suppose I can talk about the fact that I've been putting away some of my spaceships from Eagle Moss, because when I originally started collecting them, and I don't remember how many years ago this was at this point, it was quite a while back. I was establishing my collection. I started putting more and more of them on display, and every time they would get a new set of ships every month, it would be like, well, now I got to find out how to organize these things. And I have a pretty sizable collection at this point that takes up a fair amount of space in the house, in the garage. And recently, I've been trying to um, I guess organize it, because at the time I was putting the boxes somewhat haphazardly into action packers, plastic bins, other assorted things, just anywhere I could store them in the garage. And I didn't really have any particular plan. They weren't sorted by any particular method and whatnot. So, I'm kind of doing this for a couple of purposes. One, because I decided I wanted to repurpose a bookshelf that was in the dining room for part of my collection, for a couple of reasons. But, you know, um, I was originally going to put a bookshelf in the room behind me. You can't see it from here because of the backdrop, but originally there was a bookshelf there, and at some point I realized the bottom shelf was broken, so we also knew that there was damage to the wall that needed to be fixed, so we had that fixed, and I emptied out the bookshelf, and then I just never filled it back up again. We got rid of the bookshelf that was rigid there because it was broken, and I was potentially considering getting a new piece of furniture to replace it. Well, I mean, that never really happened, in part because I was lazy and I didn't really want to build a new bookshelf. And then after I was thinking about it, I was just like, well, I mean, especially because I've been contemplating the idea of us relocating at some time in the next few years for multiple reasons, not the least of which is the political climate around here, which is never favorable to me. That being said, I am still supporting Quality Texas. I'm still doing what I can where I am with what I have and all that other good stuff. It's not something I really want to contemplate, but I think it would be, in the long run, the best move for me, one way or the other. That being said, this is a ways off before that actually becomes a thing. So, if in fact I do end up moving, it'll be a while before it happens because of, again, a few reasons. There's a lot of moving parts, not the least of which I want to stick around while my boss is still here, because I know he might retire eventually, and at least for the time being, I want to enjoy a good thing while I have it, because it's a good job. I make a lot of money, or maybe not a lot of money, but I make good money, and like I said, it's, you never know. It's like when I move, who knows what the job situation will be like and all that stuff. Plus, I'm still not at even the point where I know where I'd want to move to. I've contemplated a couple of possible locations, so there's some things on the list. But until I at least get to that part, then it's a matter of reaching consensus with my partner, and then it's a matter of us deciding to do it. And there's a lot of stuff that goes before that. But just as far as the idea process, there's multiple reasons why I don't really care to live in my current state. I don't really like the meteorological climate either. It's like it's too hot most of the year, and I am not a person that thrives in hot. Of course, I know that the moment that I move somewhere where there's snow, I'm going to be complaining about the snow. So it's like, I don't know. Unfortunately, having not lived in a colder climate for quite some time, I no longer have the pseudo mental immunity to the cold that or at least the tolerance for it that I used to have. So but anyway, that's future me. Neither here nor there, but it's just something that is being considered. Anyway, it was, that was one of the reasons why I was organizing my collection of Star Trek ships. Because, of course, when Eagle Moss was producing them and they were getting as far as Discovery and Lower Decks and stuff, when the company suddenly went out of business. Well, I know another company has picked it up. I don't know if I'm going to resume my collection because I really don't think I want a subscription. I think what I would like to do, what I would have done if there had been an option, because I think they only did a subscription model at the time, would have been to purchase the specific ships I was interested in rather than having like a huge collection. That being said, if that becomes an option with Master Replicas, which I think is the one that has the license now and is selling any of the Eagle Moss ships that they're manufacturing at this point, I would probably be more circumspect about which ones I picked up. That being said, for right now, I'm organizing my collection and I'm condensing what's on display, because I don't, at least at this point, I haven't decided if I want to get rid of them. that was my phone. I haven't decided if I want to get rid of them. I don't really want to because, at least at this stage, there's a bunch of ships that I know probably if it had just been a piecemeal purchasing system, I probably never would have picked up. But at the same time, now that I have them, it's like I like having my collection. And it's not a complete collection, I don't think. I don't think I was ever successful in even getting a complete collection because at the time that was part of what I was trying to do. Have the whole collection of ships and, have a complete set. And I don't know if I actually managed to get that close to doing that or not. I have a good collection. It's like I have a lot of the smaller ships. I have most of the Discovery ones, the Battlestar ones, lower decks, and a few assorted other things. But for right now, I am organizing and sorting them into the different categories so that I know exactly which boxes is where and how to find them. And I'm kind of going back and forth on how to sort all of these assorted collections into a more manageable, organized format. That being said, it is. Let's see. Yeah, I'm kind of on an organizing the garage, organizing the house current project right now. Eventually, I'll probably get all my spaceships and action figures and all that kind of stuff sorted into one specific stack, and I'll know where all that stuff is so that if and when the time comes to move, it'll be easier for me to do that because I'll know exactly which boxes to tackle and which ones I need to grab things for actual packaging and display and finding things and so on and so forth. And if I ever decide to sell some of the collection or give it away or whatever I do, it'll be easier for me to do that as well. So it's a win-win scenario for right now. It's like it's an excuse to go into the garage, to keep it organized, to move things around, to get things straightened up and get rid of some junk that's in there that in the long run, whether we stay here, whether we go, regardless, either there's no downside to this organizational process. So that's what's going on right now, at least as far as me. As far as writing news, I've been working on a lot of editing for the Blue Moon Anthology. I'm going through stories that I really don't remember writing. I remember the basic idea, I remember the premise, but there's a lot of specifics. It's like I don't remember these characters, I don't remember writing this dialogue, but I know I did because some of it is just like it's interactions I really like. So I mean, clearly it's my style, but. What I would like to do at some point is kind of have an alternating pattern. Be working on project A on every other day and work on project B on every other day, and then just kind of keep going that. It's like have 4 days of project on one week, 3 days on the project the next week, and vice versa for the other projects, so that I can have 2 projects ongoing at any given time. My hope is that in the long run, I can do 1 to 2 major projects a year and maybe 4 to 6 smaller ones. That's my hopeful output. I don't know how realistic that is. Speaking of which, I need to decide on a short story to release in a few days. And if I don't, I need to, maybe I'll start next year, but I kind of want to start having, releasing a short story on my Patreon and FA and Voice of Dog and all that stuff, and start doing that on a semi-regular basis. And the main challenge that I always am afraid of is whether or not I can keep it up, because right now I am doing pretty well about producing projects, but short story ideas, it's a lot harder than novels, because it's like a novel I kind of have a focus, whereas the short story it's an easier project to see to completion, but I have to finding the click that says this is a short story idea that I want to invest time and effort into is a little trickier sometimes. So it's like not just telling a story, but is this a story that needs to be told versus a short story for the sake of a short story. Now, generally speaking, what I've been doing is trying to use the short stories to fill in gaps in the novels, backstories, other things that do not interfere with the main narrative, but fill in character details, fill in events that have been discussed but not seen, things like that, things that you don't have time to deal with in the novel necessarily, but or featuring characters in their own story that are like minor characters in the narrative, that sort of thing. Because I kind of feel like that's the best use of it. Use the novel to tell the broad strokes and the short stories to fill in the pieces and such. So it adds to the universe in bits and pieces. Now, most of it has been obviously focused on Winterfall, because that's where a lot of my ideas are right now. That's where a lot of my ideas are coming from. It's like I have all 5 books in the series planned out, And originally it was supposed to be a trilogy, but of course, at some point, my brain decided, how about a prequel and a sequel? So now it's a 5-book series. There's a lot of ideas that are in development because they are either ideas that I was working on that I just did not successfully complete. Some of them have stuff already written for it that I really like. So I mean, it's all stuff that's in the process. But my goal is to sort of do it like Marvel and have it be divided into phases and have each phase be like 5 or 6 projects, and then just sort of work through the sequence of each set as it gets completed, and if necessary, some release dates might move, that sort of thing. So it seems like a good way for me to handle it. So that being said, I probably have discussed phase 1 before, and things have changed since I think then. But right now, of course, we have Blue Moon, which of course was the first one. Winterfall, which came out this past July, which is my second novel. My plan right now, tentatively speaking, and you're hearing it first here, is that I would like to release the UFO project by July of next year. It's finished. It's mostly in the publishing phase right now. The next thing I want to release after that, hopefully, is the Blue Moon anthology sometime, ideally during spooky season. I'd like to release it during October, sometime between the 1st and the 31st. No particular reason. I guess it's just because it seems like an appropriate time to release a werewolf anthology. And with any luck, Winterfall 2, the sequel, will be completed and released late December next year. So, hopefully this one will actually be released in winter. I was originally going to release the first one in winter, but, it didn't quite line up that way because at the time it seemed more prudent just to get it out and get it out the door. So that being said, that's the current plan. And that will conclude phase 1 because Winterfall 2 is going to be the last project in Iridescent Studios phase 1, and phase 2 hopefully will begin with Lauren's story. I don't know, I forget what else is in there, but there's a couple of things that may move in or out because I have my lesbian romance that I have planned. I'm working on a gender field story, which so far is very in flux. It's like I have characters, I just can't quite nail down the story just yet. It's kind of in development right now, as are many other things. It's like Blue Moon 2 is one of the ones that's being toyed with. It's like I have a lot of the broad strokes for some of these series. Like I have a fantasy series that I know the general thrust of the trilogy. Same thing with the other post-apocalyptic series that I'm working on, Sunset's Edge. And beyond that, there are currently plans for at least 3 mainline Blue Moon novels. So there's plans for 2 and 3. If there is a 4, TBD. I mean, it honestly kind of depends on what happens when we get there, because some of the things that I was doing with the Blue Moon anthology is to outline things that'll happen in future books, and also to kind of indicate, at least for a lot of it, why the werewolves and creatures in my series do things the way that they do, because there's a lot of reasons for that. And that was kind of the idea, just kind of expanding the universe, filling in the gaps. And I had done like 6 sets of 2, a bunch of different stories in different time periods to kind of highlight the history of the wares. And I was going to possibly see if anybody would be interested in contributing, when it was like, I actually would probably need to develop a series Bible, or at least a kind of listing, because I know I'm very picky about that sort of thing. It's kind of why I don't really do that much fan fiction. I've really only done one in the last 12 years, and that was specifically with the knowledge and involvement of the creator. Most of the time when I've tried, it hasn't really worked out well for one reason or another. Maybe it doesn't really matter the specifics, but it just hasn't worked out, generally speaking, at least as far as me. And I don't know, maybe it's because I know that well, I think both. Well, anyway, I don't want to get into that, but let's just say that there's a lot on the pipeline, and hopefully when we get to 2026, I will have a clear view of exactly what we're doing when I get to that point. Probably I'll talk about that in December, I guess. Let's see, video news today, vlog, maybe another random video. I don't know exactly what I'm going to do right now, but unfortunately, started late today because we were doing moving a bookshelf into the room, and also I am kind of still reading a lot of these books It's like Off the Beaten Path by Rukus, which is really good. And I have this one here, Reclamation Project, edited by John Roby. Oops, I always forget. The camera's reversed here. Um, I'm reading a few other things. I guess that sort of goes into the next thing I'm talking about. Books I'm reading. I'm still reading Koheleth. I'm honestly having a little bit of a hard time with it, and I don't know if it's my lack of comprehension or something else. But I haven't quite signed off on it yet. Worst case scenario, if I can't finish it, I can't finish it. But I'm going to give it a while longer to see if clarity appears for me. Let's see what else is there. I'm reading, of course, Off the Beaten Path and Reclamation Project, as I showed you. When I finish Reclamation Project, I'll probably, I don't know if I'm either going to read Tales from the Guild first or Hugo Jackson's anthology of sorts that he wrote along with his other book. And but I'm going to read one and then the other and take a break between them, as I usually do. Once I finish Off the Beaten Path, it's been a pretty good book. It's a really good book. It's kind of also pretty intense, though, so I might see if I can find something light. Maybe it might be a good opportunity to read Royce's The Visitors, because honestly, I don't know. Sometimes Royce is heavy too. It kind of really just depends. I guess I'll just see what mood I'm in, because there's a bunch of books on my to-be-read pile, some of which I really want to read. But, I'm also kind of hesitant to read them, because it's like I'm really hoping they live up to my expectations, because some of these are right up what I think theoretically is my alley, and I'm really crossing my fingers that that is the case. But that being said, I have dropped books before. I mean, it's rare for me to do it. It usually has to just mean either that it's just not compatible with me as a reader, or I have a hard time figuring out what's going on, or in some cases it's just because it is not compatible with me for whatever reason. And I'm kind of getting to the point where it's just like it's fair. I mean, that's totally fair. If you buy a book and it doesn't click with you, or you don't really, if you read a book, it's like I also don't want to review it if the only things I have to say about the books are negative, because, I've read some books that I had given what I would consider to be generally negative review. I think that I was fair in most of my assessments. I try not to be harsh. And, it's like I'm not looking to dump on anybody. It's like I'm really not. It's like even if I hate your book and despise it with every page, it's like in that case I just wouldn't review it, just because I don't want to be a jerk, okay? I don't. And, now this, of course, is the caveat is that if, you should ask me what I think of your book, I'll, of course, I would ask, are you really sure that you want to know? And then I would perhaps consider telling you I don't know. But fortunately, those are few and far between, okay, by and large. The vast majority of the furry fiction that I read is excellent. A lot of it is really good, and it's like I said, some of it might be good for somebody else, but it's not good for me. Because this is something else that I think sometimes people, they think of just binary good and bad or something. And it's like sometimes there's just books that they're good, or they might be good for someone else, but they're just not my book. Just kind of like, television series. It's like I watch a lot of shows with my partner. We watch and like a lot of the same things, but our tastes aren't one-to-one. There's shows he likes that I don't. There's shows that I like watching over and over again that he doesn't. And, it's always a challenge balancing those for the stuff we watch together, but still, it's like there's some series that really mean a lot to me that every time I watch, it's like I like to watch by myself, and it just really helps, it's really good for me. But I don't necessarily expect him to, to be in the same page, and that's fine. It's like people need their own interests, and that's absolutely the case with books. It's like this book that I don't like, maybe you do, and in that case, hey, read it, enjoy it, leave a review. It's like I try and make sure that if I have something to say, that I say it respectfully. Even if I don't like your book, I try and find something about it that I do like. And in the odd cases where it's just like I can't say anything nice about this book myself, then I just don't generally say anything, because, it's rare, but it happens. So generally speaking, I think I have pretty good taste in selecting books. Excuse me. I'm starting to get a little long-winded here, so I guess I'll wrap it up. But reading most of the same books right now. Koholeth, Off the Beaten Path, Reclamation Project, and the Star Trek Strange New Worlds novel. Hopefully I'll finish some of those soon to be able to start on a production cycle. My goal is hopefully to start on a video review production cycle, hopefully for November and December, and then maybe get on a bi-monthly cycle, and we'll see exactly how that goes. But that's it for now, so I'll catch you all later. If you like post-apocalyptic fiction, polar bears, and adventure, check out my newest release, Winterfall, available in paperback and ebook on Amazon. And don't forget about my werewolf novel, Blue Moon. Thanks for watching. If you liked it, click the subscribe button and leave a comment below. Catch you later.